You're watching News Central now on News Central Television. I am Dakbo Adegboye. The top stories at this hour. President Bola Tinubu orders CBN to suspend cybersecurity levy implementation. Police arrest prominent lawyer critical of Tunisian president. Burundi accuses Rwanda of being responsible for Friday's twin blast. Details in a moment. Thank you for joining me. Let's begin the news at this hour by telling you that President Bola Tinubu of Nigeria has asked the Central Bank of Nigeria to suspend the implementation of the controversial cybersecurity levy policy and ordered a review. This followed the decision of the House of Representatives, which last Thursday asked the CBN to withdraw its circular directing all banks to commence charging a 0.5% cybersecurity levy on all electronic transactions in the country. The CBN on May 6, 2024 issued a circular mandating all banks, mobile money operators and also payment service providers to implement a new cybersecurity levy following the provisions laid out in the Cybercrime Prohibition and Prevention Act as amended, that's for 2024. According to the Act, a levy amounting to 0.5% of the value of all electronic transactions will be collected and remitted to the National Cybersecurity Fund, overseen by the Office of the National Security Advisor. The federal government is poised to receive fresh loan funding from the World Bank, with approval expected for the loans totaling to about $2.25 billion on June 13, 2024. The funding will be received via two major development projects. The first project is the Nigeria Reforms for Economic Stabilization to Enable Transformation Development Policy Financing, which is set to receive $1.5 billion. The second project, NG Accelerating Resource Mobilization Reforms Program for Results, has proposed funding of $750 million. There has been earlier reports that indicated that the government might reintroduce previously suspended telecom tax and other fiscal measures in pursuit of securing a $750 million loan. Now, still on the news at this time, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has stopped dollar transaction at foreign embassies in Nigeria. The anti-graft agency said that Nigerian local currency should be the only legal tender for transactions at foreign embassies. There are indications that the Commission sent an advisory to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, stating that all transactions at foreign missions should be conducted in Naira. The Commission explained that the directive is part of efforts to strengthen the Naira. The value of the Naira dipped from around 700 Naira to $1 to around 1,400 Naira to $1 in the last 1 year, since the collapse of the foreign exchange windows by the President Bola Tinubu's administration. Now, joining me on the news at this time to discuss this is Lester Wilcox, a Fellow, Institute of Chartered Accountants. Thank you for joining me on the news. Now, in your opinion, will this policy by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission effectively increase demand for the Naira and strengthen its value?
Well, thank you for having me, and good afternoon, everybody. I think this is the best way to go. I do not even know why it's coming so late in the day. But it's rather late than never. I'd always advocated that any transaction in Nigeria being priced in any currency other than Nigeria, other than the Naira, is an aberration to their economic policies. So I'm happy that the EFCC has woken up. As a matter of fact, I don't even think it's the job of the EFCC. It's the job of central bank. But since the central bank seems to be having a lame duck up towards it, and yes, they're taking it up. It's a welcome development. I think we must transact businesses in Nigeria in Naira and not in any other currency, apart from anybody that could have an express exception, maybe from the president, to transact in any other currency. But the official currency of Nigeria is Naira, and every transaction in Nigeria must be domesticated in Naira.
Now, are there any... Okay, I mean, I was just about to also ask if there are any potential unintended consequences of this policy, particularly on the exchange rate.
No, well, it will only get more demand for the Naira. Remember, it's not just embassies. I'm surprised I'm getting embassies. It's not only embassies that transact uh, businesses in naira and in foreign currency. We know the recent celebrated case of Yaya Bello. That means institutions other than even the embassies. I'm talking about schools, hospitals, um, airlines, and other agencies. I mean, other businesses in Nigeria, hotels domesticate their presence in dollar, and this is a complete aberration. You don't expect that somebody is in Nigeria and is charging school fees in dollars, and Nigerians are paying. I think that is unacceptable. So yes, it should not just stop at embassies. Yes, embassies. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that's a very small. That is a very small quantity in terms of outlay. But schools, like all those early schools in Abuja and Lagos and other parts of the country, schools, hospitals, hotels, all these five-star hotels that you see that domiciled their prices in dollars. I think it is an aberration.
Mm.
So people, and of course, if services are priced in naira, it will make people to make the dollar valuable. So or demand for the dollar to be reduced. For instance, I mean, Yaya Bello now have demanded almost $1 million sold from the black market from Burundi to pay the children's school fees or whoever paid that school fees. It might not be Yaya Bello, whoever paid that school. So
All right.
imagine the quantum of people in that school and how much they will now be sourcing for dollar from autonomous market from the Burundi to pay school fees. So imagine how many people that will be sourcing for dollar to pay for embassy services, consular services. So if it is in naira, then there will be no need to source for dollar. Then anybody that has naira just go and pay, and then it now becomes on. I mean, when they want to represent their money or their profit, they now go through the central bank to represent their profit. So there will be less pressure on demand for dollar, and of course that will give a lot of strength and stability to the naira.
All right. Now, how long do you project that, of course, we might see some sort of measurable impact, in terms of the Naira's value? And also, one question on the lips of many is, will this in any way affect diplomatic relations between Nigeria and some of the countries that might be affected as a result of this directive?
I do not see any diplomatic setback or fallback because in those countries, their transactions are done in their local currency. So Nigeria is not an exception. So if you are an embassy, you are not immune to the laws of the country. As a matter of fact, yours is to help to strengthen the internal laws of the country to make it stronger. That is part of your responsibility. So I do not see any. I mean, transactions in the Nigerian embassy in the UK is done in pounds. The transactions in the Nigerian embassy in Washington is done in dollar. It's not done in naira. So there won't be any diplomatic fallback. On the value of the naira, yes, there will be less pressure, but those are not exactly what determines the value. There's a lot of manipulation. There's a lot of manipulation of the dollar of the naira against the dollar. A lot, even when there's no demand, and that is why those P2P platforms. We saw what Binance was doing before Binance was clamped down. Now the other platform, all the P2P platforms that are just every day manipulating the value of the naira. And I have been calling for this. As a matter of fact, this embassy thing, I've been calling for it on several forums that all Nigerians must implement that law. The CBN must implement that law that all transactions in Nigeria is denominated in naira and nothing more. So anybody who wants to pay for their services, go and pay for it in naira, not to go and start searching for the dollar. Then you can now think of the way of repatriating your profit at the end of the day. So the value of the naira might not increase today, but over time, with all these measures and with less pressure in the market, in the Burundi change, less pressure, people looking for thousands and thousands of dollars to pay for school fees, to pay for medical in Nigeria. If those ones are not there, then the demand will be low, and then certainly, if there is adequate supply, it will of course drive down the value of the naira, of the dollar, and the naira will gain strength. So it's just a two-way thing. But of course, not
all right,
Lester.
Lester, one issue again is that, more importantly is that in this part of the world, compliance, is usually an issue. How realistic is it for the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to effectively enforce this ban, particularly on foreign agencies, given the prevalence of the dollarized transactions, particularly in some sectors?
For me, as far as the embassies are concerned, it is mainly consular services that are priced in dollars or in other foreign currency. Mainly dollar consular services, those looking for visa. And I don't think much of that. That's why I say it's a small fry. But it is the businesses. And then nobody is bigger than the government in terms of compliance. Right now that the government has woken up from their sleep, it is just for the government to make the announcement. And then the agencies will go in to verify if this are happening. They will do sting operations and then set example one or two, just like they've done with the abuse of the naira. People like what they call him now, with Bobrisky and all that. They know. Some of them are feeling it. So now people understand the fact that you cannot abuse the naira anyhow, and so they are careful. So if one or two agencies, one or two institutions, as for the embassy, you cannot arrest the embassy because it's a diplomatic embassy. But of course, they've been told, and so if it is discovered that they are going contrary to that, then there will be a diplomatic exchange with their home country or with their home government to ensure that they comply. But for the private businesses that are all over the place, especially schools and hospitals and the hotels, they must. This is what must be done. They must look at it critically and be able to know that they use one or two persons as a scapegoat, and others will just fall in line. That is just it. Nobody is more powerful than government. If government to implement a decision, nobody can thwart it. I can assure you for that. The government is ready to implement a decision. Nobody. It's just unfortunate that in this country there's a lot of we hold our laws in breach when government officials are the ones breaching the laws. So what do you expect? But if the government has woken up and said no, to do this right, I'm not sure nobody will go against it, and in no distant time or in no little time, you will achieve that policy objective.
All right, Alester, thank you so much for your time on the news.
Thank you for having me. It's always my pleasure. Thank you.
Now let's move to political matters. We have former national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Prince Uche Secondos, has accused the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Wike, of being the mastermind of the current charged political atmosphere in Rivers State. The former PDP national chairman made the accusation on the heels of Wike's incessant feud with the Rivers State governor, Sim Fubara, saying the FCT minister had been demarketing the state because Governor Fubara had blocked all loopholes that could grant him access to the revenues in the coffers of the state. Secondos alleged that Wike had instructed his aides and political associates to continuously malign and sabotage the peace, progress and prosperity of the state by ceaselessly attacking the governor and other leaders of the state in the media. Let's also tell you that the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies have expressed concern over the low representation of women in governance and the decision-making processes of the country. The Director General of the Institute urged policymakers and the state institutions to show more commitment to finding a solution by creating policies that will help reconcile the different roles men and women play in the society. Now, News Central's correspondent Idong Joseph tells us more.
Women and men have different needs and responsibilities, and thus they face different challenges in the society. Because of these differences, the need for mainstreaming gender when designing and implementing policies and programs becomes apt so that it benefits both genders. However, despite a framework which recommends 35% of women in all governance processes, their representation has been on a steady decline.
Women participation, inclusion, representations in governance since the advent of democratic rule in 1999 is less than 7%. The challenge facing all advocates of gender inclusivity in politics today is the wide gap between shared values reflected in the national and international policies and practices.
While efforts by the government and non-governmental organizations, including international development partners, seek to increase women's representation in governance, this seems to be eluding all efforts. The National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies says there's a need for policymakers to put in place the right kind of policies that will address this challenge.
I'm very optimistic that there's is strategically positioned in ensuring that women secure wider participation in governance by guiding policymakers to be able to make informed and evidence-based policies to enhance gender participation in governance in our country. However, we need to upscale our skills and competencies in order to effectively achieve this objective. It is therefore expected that at the end of this training workshop, you will gain increased knowledge and awareness on gender concepts.
The UN Women is totally in agreement with what is going on here today, and therefore congratulate NINGS and all stakeholders that have contributed to organizing this training.
The underrepresentation of women is no doubt reflected in almost all sectors of Nigeria's society. Policy experts say this, however, can be resolved by putting the right policies in place. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
You're watching News Central now. We're going on a quick break. When we return, we have more stories. Stay with us. The National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons has concluded a 5-day training program aimed at enhancing the capacity of its officials and improving refugee application and management processes in the country. This initiative comes to improve the livelihoods and protection of refugees, providing more support for those seeking refuge. News Central's Joshua Imarayi completes the story.
Nigeria has been questioned over its support for refugees and internally displaced persons in the past. To improve on its responsiveness, the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons commenced a 5-day training program to equip its staff with the necessary capacity. The program also aims at enhancing the capacity of the committees saddled with attending to refugee applications.
So it's very, very important that the membership understands, deeply what the processes are like so that decisions are well informed. We are expected to protect them in all ramifications, the asylum seekers and what have you. So it is very important that we understand the processes to do that. And that is what informed this for a very particular training.
The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, who was represented at the training, assured of the UN support to help the Nigerian government meet its international obligation for refugee protection.
UNHCR is committed to supporting the government of Nigeria in meeting its obligation for international protection for refugees. And the essence of this 5-day session is to enhance capacity of key members of the Eligibility Committee and the Refugee Appeal Board, so that when they have claims for asylum to review, they are able to appropriately apply the right principles for protection. They are able to review the procedures for interviewing and assessment have been complied with, and are able to ensure that those who meet the criteria for status are granted, and those who do not meet are also not recommended for status.
Participants at the training emphasized the importance of law and fairness in refugee matters, and acknowledge that the training has indeed enhanced their capacity to perform their jobs.
The essence of the review: 1, you acquire knowledge. Secondly, you can enhance capacity, meaning you have knowledge already, you are now enhancing it by learning new things. And it's the new things we are learning that is helping us to do our work. It may interest you to know that within the past 4 days, we have reviewed five cases that was brought before us.
With UN backing Nigeria's effort, the new training program is a crucial step forward in supporting Nigeria's refugee community and offers a bright hope for refuge seekers. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
Officers of the Nigeria Customs Service Western Marine Command have intercepted 12,500 litres of premium motor spirit known as petrol, worth 8,750,000 naira, along the Isalu Creek-Badagry waterway en route to Benin Republic. The Customs Area Controller, Paul Bamisaye, said or revealed that the command's headquarters, and he explained that while on joint patrol based on credible intelligence, the command received the movement of the 2 boats laden with what was suspected to be petroleum products concealed in sacks. The Customs Area Controller stated that after careful examination of the seizure at the command headquarters, it revealed that 177 sacks and 61 kegs of 25-liter premium motto spirit contained 12,500 liters, with a total duty paid value standing at that's 8,750,000 naira. Similarly, it was reported on Saturday that the Adama Taraba Area Command of the NCS said it intercepted 12,435 liters of PMS worth 10.8 million naira being illegally exported to Cameroon. Now, some of the abducted students of Confluence University of Science and Technology, or SARA Okene, in Kogi State have been rescued. This was confirmed in a statement on Sunday by the Kogi State Commissioner for Information and Communication, Kingsley Fanwo. He said the students were rescued safely by local hunters and other security agents. He, however, did not disclose the exact number of the students rescued. The commissioner said that the local vigilante men and security agents engaged the kidnappers in a fierce shootout. The kidnappers succumbed to superior firepower and escaped with gun wounds. According to him, the kidnappers left the kidnapped children, who also ran in different directions, to avoid being caught in the fire exchange. The Nigerian Army is assured of its commitment to improve healthcare infrastructure in army formations and units across the country. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, made this known during the commissioning of the state-of-the-art remodeled medical facility of the 401 Special Forces Brigade at the Joe Aken Military Cantonment in Makurdi, the Benue State capital. Now, News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu tells us more.
The commissioning of a remodeled health facility in one of the Army's formations in Benue State, north-central Nigeria. The Chief of Army Staff says this, among others, being embarked on by the Army, will bring relief to residents domiciled in the area and ease their burden.
I am delighted to be back, this time to inaugurate the remodeled and upgraded medical center, a testament to our commitment to enhancing the healthcare infrastructure in Nigerian Army barracks and cantonments. The intervention in our medical facilities is only one of our numerous efforts to upgrade our welfare facilities and line with the sound administration beam of my command philosophy. I believe support for the home front and a good welfare package are necessary to strengthen the moral component of fighting power.
The commander for Special Forces Command also noted that the medical facility will not only bring succor to the cantonment and its host community, saying its services will be open to all in need.
This transformation drive being witnessed in the Nigerian Army is in line with the Chief of Army Staff command philosophy, which is to transform the Nigerian Army into a well-trained, equipped, highly motivated force towards achieving our constitutional responsibilities within a joint environment.
The Army says that this complements its social welfare drive and its non-kinetic approach to the war against insecurity. In Abuja for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
Indigenes of Okwaja community in Lagos have expressed serious concerns over the construction of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, which they say will lead to the demolition of most of their community if it proceeds as plans. Now, the indigenes say while they believe the construction of the coastal road will be for the benefit of all, they're pleading with the government to revert to their original plan, which will have minimal impact on their community. In this special report, News Central's Bernard Akede paid a visit to Okwaja community to see things for himself.
All approval for mining of sand.
The last stakeholders meeting between the government and persons to be affected by the construction of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway ended with mixed feelings. While some received compensation for the demolished structures, others were thankful that theirs was not to be affected. However, there were those who felt a strong need to make their voices heard because of the impact they believe the project will have on their community.
We have an original alignment inside our CFO when Bola Ahmed, when they were governor of Lagos State, give to the community. The alignment is there. We are now surprised how the commissioner now be taking the coastal road, diverting into the middle of the community.
Yes. Okay. So New Central's crew decided to pay a visit to Okunaja community to see firsthand why the indigents were so concerned about the construction of the coastal highway.
We are trying to let the minister know at the stakeholder meeting that we want them to maintain the right of way where they marked here in Okunaja. But he was saying they have moved it to the ancestral place, that there's nothing we can do about that. He said we have wooden houses or something, which we don't understand. You can see yourself that we have big houses around. You know it's coming from Ahmadu Bello.
Ahmadu Bello, yes. All the way straight down.
All straight down to Afabi. You know Afabi?
Yes. The youth leader took us on a tour of the coastal community, which the indigents say has been in existence for over 600 years, explaining to us how the initial plan of the highway would have favored them and how the new diversion was going to cut through the community, thus affecting their lives.
The government don't want them to demolish a lot of buildings. That is why they decided to the planting area, which we accepted. But it was later we got to know that they now deviate from this camp area, which they have marked their alignment already, to the main community.
Mosques, churches, traditional places of worship, businesses, residential buildings, and even schools, amongst others. The indigents say these are some of the structures that will be affected if the highway cuts through the community.
Coastal road tán fẹ́ ṣe yìí ó jẹ́ ohun tó dùn mọ́ mi inú tó dùn mọ́ wa nú nínú ìlú ó dùn mọ́ wa nú torí àti retí ẹ̀ tipẹ́tipẹ́ ṣùgbọ́n ohun tó kàn wá ń ṣe wá ni pé ibi tán wá fẹ́ wá gbé wá yìí òun ló jẹ́ ká ń sọ̀rọ̀ bí ò sí yẹn àní sọ̀rọ̀ o. àwa sọ fún àwọn olórí wa tí wọ́n jẹ́ aṣíwájú tá ń tẹ̀lé wọn tán jẹ́ olórí ìlú Nàìjíríà kó ṣàánú fún wa kó gbé títì Okunaja lọ sínú rà fún wa kó ṣàánú fún wa àfẹ́ láàrin bíbá yìí ẹ má pàlúrun mọ́ wa lọ́wọ́. àfẹ́ títì láàrin ìlú wa yìí ẹ lọ gbé sẹ́yìn rà because ìṣẹ̀ṣe tá à ń ṣe ó important fún wa ju pé kí títì wa parẹ́ lọ.
On the other side of this community lies another tale entirely which the dwellers wish to tell. What should have been a beauty to this community is now a threat to their life and livelihood, and that is the ocean. The dwellers here say with every passing rainy season, parts of their community is being washed off into the ocean. They say that they have complained to the appropriate authorities, but not much has been done. And now, with the coastal road being built, they fear that on one side, the road will chop off part of their community, while on the other side, the community is being washed off into the ocean. The people here blame most of the ocean encroachment on sand dredging activities which may be related to the ongoing work at the Eco-Atlantic City, which can be seen from a distance.
What we need from government is to come and assist us to dredge this ocean. Then the road that they want to construct, they should leave our community alone. They have come earlier before that they want to pass the swamp area. So they should help us to maintain that ocean side, the swamp side.
About 400 years.
They, however, have an alternative suggestion for the highway. They say since hundreds of meters of land has been washed into the ocean, the government could engage in sand filling of the beachfront and divert the new alignment of the highway in that direction, thereby saving the community. We also met with the traditional head of Okunaja community who pleaded with the government to spare their ancestral home.
When you put coastal road for our middle of Okunaja community, there's no more Okunaja again. So we appeal to federal government, most especially President Bola Tinubu, to help us tell the minister to move the coastal road inside our community, put it another place.
According to the minister, regardless of where this coastal road will be moved to, people will still be affected. But for the people of Okwaja, they are saying that whatever happens in the construction of this coastal road, their ancestral home should please be saved. Whether or not they'll be compensated, all they are saying is that Okwaja should still remain on the face of Lagos. In Lagos for News Central, I'm Bernard Akede.
Of course, houses and buildings in the urban areas of Abia State will soon undergo a re-evaluation to determine if they followed specifications for the areas they are located. Commissioner for Lands and Housing, Mr. Chaka Chukwumerije, who announced this in his office at the Workers' Secretariat in Umuahia, said government is on a mission to ratify all registered property in the state. News Central's Chinwe Ugele tells us more.
In the past, cities were planned to have certain facilities such as hotels, eateries, and even schools sited in designated areas, while residential areas were strictly used for the purpose. But in the recent times, one can hardly differentiate between a residential area and a market, as shops and stalls deface even reserved areas in the urban cities. Commissioner for Lands and Housing, Mr. Chaka Chukwumerije, says the exercise government plans to conduct will provide opportunity to identify all those who have flouted the rules with a view to correcting them.
Recertification exercise also involves building plan approvals. There are a large number of buildings out there or people holding on to title documents that do not have the requisite building plan approval, or the approval given to you on the land you hold and all that has changed from the time that title was given.
To this end, he says landlords in the state have been directed to present their title deeds for recertification.
All title documents, developed, undeveloped, allocations, any claim to any land or property in Abia, the certificates will be recertified and validated. Recertification exercise affords this regime to bite the bullet and clean up its land record system.
However, the citizens of the state have expressed mixed feelings about the novel introduction.
If there's anything that has gone wrong, as a remedial government that wants to do better things that were wrongly done in the past, I don't see anything wrong with it. Except again, maybe they should give them some time. Why are they hurrying?
Well, I think it's a measure for by government to raise some money. That's basically what it is. But we need to consider the timing. We're in a period of hardship for people. And going this way again for people who already had certified properties, and you're asking them to recertify at this time, needs to be reconsidered.
Though not angry at the policy, they want government to suspend it until when the economy improves, or jettison the idea completely, citing the many implications. In Umuahia for News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
Coming up on the news, police arrest prominent lawyer critical of President Said. We have details of this and more after the break. The news continues in North Africa, where the Tunisian police have stormed the building of the deanship of lawyers and arrested Sonia Damani, a lawyer known for a fierce criticism of President Kais Saied. Similarly, two journalists who witnessed the confrontation were reportedly arrested as well. The incident was the latest in a series of arrests and investigations targeting activists, journalists and civil society groups critical of Saied and the government. The move reinforces opponents' fears of an increasing authoritarian government ahead of presidential elections expected later this year. Damani was arrested after she said on television program this week that Tunisia is a country where life is not pleasant. She was commenting on a speech by Said, who said there was a conspiracy to push thousands of undocumented migrants from sub-Saharan countries to stay in Tunisia. Now, Tunisian lawyers chanted slogans during a protest at the Bar Association headquarters in Tunis. Tunisia's security forces have stormed the Bar Association in Tunis and arrested lawyer and political commentator Sonia Damani after she made comments on television about the state of the country. The arrest late on Saturday was forced to cut its broadcast and that its crew had been assaulted and a cameraman briefly detained. Tunisian media reported Damani was under investigation after controversial Decree 54, which outlaws spreading false news online or in the media, an incitement to hate speech. Now, journalists and opposition figures argue the law has been used to stifle dissident.
يقرر الدخول في إضراب عام جهوي وإيقاف العمل بجميع المحاكم تونس الكبرى. بداية من يوم الاثنين 13 ماي 2024 ويعلن بقاءه في حالة انعقاد دائم للنظر في اتخاذ جميع الأشكال النضالية الأخرى على إثر اقتحام دار المحامي بتونس اليوم 11 ماي 2024 على الساعة 7:45 مساء من قبل العشرات من أعوان الأمن الملثمين وذلك باستعمال العنف واختطاف الزميلة الأستاذة سونيا الدهماني من داخل دار المحامي وحملها إلى جهة مجهولة وما رافقه من اعتداء على المحاميات والمحامين المتواجدين بالمكان. يطالب بإطلاق سراح الأستاذة سونيا الدهماني فورا ويعبر عن وقوفه التام ومساندته المطلقة لها.
In Central Africa, dozens of activists from Chadian Prime Minister Success Masra's party have been arrested. They are accused of forgery and using false documents during the presidential poll. The news came after officials declared junta leader General Mahamat Idris Deby Itno the winner with 61.03% of the vote, after Masra himself had claimed victory. In N'Djamena, prosecutors said 76 activists with Masra's Transformers Party had been taken into custody. The Electoral Code allows for the presence of candidate delegates to voting stations, provided they had been accredited by the country's election agency, ANGE. Vice President of the Transformers denounced accusations that they had interfered in the voting process as ridiculous and fanciful. Burundi has accused its northern neighbor, Rwanda, of training and arming rebels, blamed for twin grenade attacks that wounded 38 persons on May 3rd. Now, relations between the East African countries have been frosty, and Rwanda has previously denied claims it backs the rebels. The Interior Minister and Red Tabara insurgents, accused of a string of attacks in Burundi, threw a grenade at a packed bus stop in the main city of Bujumbura at 7 p.m. on Friday. The Red Tabara emerged in 2011 and has a base in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo province of Southern Kivu. Burundi has repeatedly accused Rwanda of backing the rebels, a claim denied by Rwandan government and the Red Tabara. Thousands of Georgians have taken to the streets of the capital, Tbilisi, on Saturday evening to protest the controversial foreign influence bill backed by the government. Protesters marched at the capital's Eastern Europe, holding Georgian and European flags, chanting "No to Russian law." The law will target civil society organizations and independent media that receive foreign funding. Opposition parties say the bill, coined Russian law after Russia's passing of the similar legislation in 2012, will be used by the government to clamp down on dissidents. The U.S. has said the bill threatens free speech.
ჩემი მომავალი თაობის უპერსპექტივობის საწინდარი ამ კანონის მიღება. ამიტომ ვაპროტესტებ ჩემ შვილებთან ერთად, ვიცავ მათ მომავალს, ჩვენი გზა არის ევროპაში. ეს არ დაწყებულა ახლა, საუკუნეებია ამ გზას იკულევს და იკაფავს საქართველო და დღეს, როდესაც უკვე ფინიშის სწორზე ვართ, არანაირად არ დავიხებთ უკან.
ქართული ოცნება არის ქვეყნის მოღალატე პარტია და არ უნდა იყოს ჩვენი ქვეყნის მთავრობაში.
პირველ რიგში მომიყვანა აქ ჩემ სულისკვეთებამ და იმ ჟინვა, რომ საქართველოს კონდეს ევროპული მომავალი და ის ადამიანები, ვინც ამის წინააღმდეგ არიან, რაც შეიძლება მალე მოვაშოროთ ჩემს და ჩვენ სამშობლოს.
Protesters and police clashed during an anti-government rally calling for the release of hostages held in Gaza since the October 7th attacks outside the Defense Ministry headquarters in Tel Aviv. On Saturday, Israel hit parts of Gaza, including Rafah, where it expanded an evacuation order as the United Nations warned an outright invasion of the crowded city risked an epic disaster. Medics and witnesses reported strikes across the coastal territory where the United Nations says humanitarian relief is blocked after Israeli troops defied international opposition and entered eastern Rafah this week. That effectively shut down a key aid crossing and suspending traffic through another.
And I can't see them survive the attack of our military. And I can't see the Hamas release them if we are inside Rafah. So the only chance to bring them home is to stop the war, to sit down, and to make a hostage deal that's gonna.
Of course, in business, South Africa faces a looming power crisis due to the deteriorating municipal infrastructure, prompting Electricity Minister to advocate for a shift towards alternative solutions. The country has experienced a 6% decrease in electricity demand in 2024 compared to 2023, attributing in part to increased rooftop solar adoption. Moreover, the return to service of 3 generating units at the Kusile power plant, capable of generating 2,400 megawatts at peak capacity, offers hope for mitigating power shortages. This highlights the importance of diversifying energy sources and improving infrastructure resilience, a multifaceted strategy combining demand-side management with enhanced generation capacity to essential, of course, to also address the South Africa's energy crisis effectively. Still in business, a Nigerian government represented by Minister of Works David Umahi has initiated negotiations with the African Development Bank to secure funding for the critical segments of Nigeria's coastal and trans-Sahara highways. Talks regarding potential financing occurred at the Minister's office in Abuja, involving a delegation from the AFDB led by Mike Salau, the Director of Infrastructure and Urban Development. According to a statement on the ministry's website, this move aligns with the federal government's strategy to bolster economic opportunities and facilitate transnational investments, in line with the vision of the Renewed Hope administration led by President Bola Tinubu. The minister emphasized the importance of these highways in providing enduring infrastructure and promoting industrialization across the routes. Let's wrap it up with some sporting details. The Togolese Football Federation has announced the final roster for the upcoming Under-17 WAFO tournament. The young Sparrows have been training hard in recent weeks under the guidance of their coach and staff, playing a series of warm-up matches to fine-tune their game plan. They face a tough challenge in Group B, where they will be competing against Nigeria's Golden Eaglets, Niger and Burkina Faso. To boost team's morale, FA President Sebastian Prey paid a visit to the training camp on Friday, urging the players to give their all in the competition. The 20-player squad reviewed Saturday night includes 3 goalkeepers, 7 defenders, 7 midfielders, and 3 attackers. The Young Sparrows are sure to be a team to watch out in this year's Under-17 rifle competition. Still in the world of sports, Real Madrid threw a victory party with their fans on Sunday after clinching their 36th Spanish league title. The team met with government officials and paraded through the capital city streets. Madrid secured the championship last week, but their Champions League run put the celebration on hold. They secured their place in the finals on Wednesday, defeating Bayern Munich. Now, thousands of fans lined the streets to cheer on their champions, who ended their celebratory parade at the Sebel Square, a traditional spot for such occasions. The official trophy presentation took place earlier at the team's training center. And that's a wrap on the news at this time. But before we go, another look at some of our top stories. We told you that President Bola Tinubu has ordered the CBN to suspend cybersecurity levy implementation. We also told you that police arrest prominent lawyer critical of Tunisian president. Finally, we told you that Burundi accuses Rwanda of being responsible for Friday's twin blast. Don't forget to send in your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. You can also follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live across these platforms: DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Apple TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching, and Dakbo at Digboy.